Welcome to the SkySwitch University webinar series. Good morning, happy 2019 to everybody. This is Jason Jones of SkySwitch, and on behalf of the entire SkySwitch team, we'd like to thank everyone for taking the time out of your day to join us to learn more about intent marketing and how you can vastly improve your monthly recurring revenue with their proven digital marketing concepts. I will be moderating today's webinar, and we are very pleased to welcome today's presenter, Mr. Billy Robbins. He is the founder and marketing automation expert at Intent Marketing. To have full disclosure, SkySwitch has been working with Billy in a consulting capacity for the past 6 months, where he has successfully lowered our cost per acquisition in our Google AdWords campaigns by over half while maintaining our number of inbound leads per month. Very, very happy with the work Billy is doing with us. So simply put, he's a genius in digital marketing, automation, and he continues to optimize our lead generation at SkySwitch. Billy believes being intimate with clients supersedes having a long client list. And as a matter of fact, he detests the word clients, as written on his website. His philosophy of conducting business runs parallel with SkySwitch's, which is build long-lasting partnerships that prosper for years to come. Billy will present his slide deck in its entirety, and we will conduct the Q&A session immediately after. So therefore, I encourage all participants out there to type any and all questions in the question widget section of your GoToWebinar plugin. As always, we're going to record today's webinar, and we will post it on the SkySwitch YouTube channel, and then it will also be sent to all participants via email immediately after the webinar. Now, settle in and get prepared to get educated by one of the best in the business, Mr. Billy Robbins of Intent Marketing. The floor is all yours, Billy.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that kind introduction. And yeah, very excited to share some content today. I want to start off with maybe a little different than most webinars here. You know, back when Britain was occupying India, the Brits had an issue. They had a lot of these guys crawling around, and they weren't used to seeing these outside of Liverpool, and so they tried to figure out a way to get rid of these cobras. And so what they decided to do was, hey, what if we paid for all of the kind of dead cobras that we can get? So we'll have the locals, they're used to them, round them up, kill them, and then they bring them, we'll pay for them. Great idea. So this started working off pretty well, and then the industrious people of India had an idea. They're like, well, hey, if we're getting paid for these, why don't we start to breed them? And so they did. They started to produce more and more and more cobras. And then the Brits figured out what was going on and said, wait a minute, we're now paying, and this is not fixing our problem. We're now going to stop paying for these cobras. And when that happened, the fine locals decided, well, there's not really much profit in this, so let's just release all of the cobras that we have now been gathering. And so therefore there were more cobras, and the fine people of England ended up paying money and completely not solving their issue. I find that story to be very similar to what I see in the digital marketing world. What's really happening there is that someone has put a tactic ahead of a strategy. And today in the digital marketing world, you are faced with an infinite amount of choices. And if you pay attention to the blogs or the stuff that's happening, and Facebook changes this and Google changes that, it's almost like, what do we do? Well, I believe that this is the #1 issue why marketing campaigns do not work today, because there is this tactical basis, this one-off approach to random things and as changes make, instead of having a coherent strategy. I call this issue the shiny toy syndrome. And the shiny toy syndrome is just that, is you say, well, this was really popular on Mashable or this website or that website, let's go and take this approach. Well, the problem is that the shiny toy syndrome causes a lot of issues and is definitely going to hinder your ability to create reliable marketing strategies that help you drive your business. Now, let's take a little snapshot here and do a little health check for you. And we're going to do a little analysis to see if you possibly have the shiny toy syndrome. So let's take a look at some of the symptoms. If you're not sure what's working in your marketing and what's not working, that's a possible symptom. you could possibly start some new marketing initiative, maybe be real fired up about this idea, but it just never really see it fully completed. Or you could have many different marketing initiatives active. You got a lot of different things happening, but they just don't seem to complement. They're not part of a cohesive strategy. And then also, any results that you seem to be getting seem to be directly correlated to just buying more traffic, just getting more traffic to your site. If any of these four are relevant in your business, you may be suffering from the shiny toy syndrome. And I just want to say that on this call today, we are going to heal you from that. That's the entire point of this presentation, is to eliminate the shiny toy syndrome and provide something that I think is going to be a vastly superior, reliable system that you can base all of your marketing on. So I think we can also take this quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson and really apply it to this concept. Mr. Emerson says, "As to methods, there may be a million and then some, but principles are few. The man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods. The man who tries methods ignoring principles is sure to have trouble." And again, I think this completely supports this concept, because really your strategy should dictate your tactics, not we just do a bunch of random tactics and that's our strategy. So what is the strategy? What is the overarching philosophy, strategy that you should be applying to your business that all tactics should be subject to? Well, before we get to that, I'd like to just share a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Billy Robbins, and Jason had a wonderful introduction. I'm the founder of a company called Intent Company. I think it's really important to note that we are a team, and we really do this every day. And so we're not just here to give you information. This is something that's tried and true. This is a process that we do in our own business and for all of our customers. So we are really practitioners of what we're about to share with you. And let me just kind of set the stage for what to expect here in this next 52 minutes or so. What I want to provide for you today is a philosophy, an overarching marketing philosophy that you should be using to test everything that you do from now on. I'm also going to share with you the one and only goal for all marketing, possibly all business. This is really the only thing that you should be focusing on. Then I'm going to share with you an implementation methodology, a process that you can apply to see this philosophy take shape. And then finally, we will get to tactics. But again, these tactics are going to be subject to everything else that we do. And so I'm going to give you a really clear example, something that you could launch in short order to see this come together. So what do I believe you're going to benefit from this whole process we're going to share with you? I believe you're going to find a way you're going to see more leads, you're going to see more sales, but you're actually going to see a lower cost, and you're even going to have longer retention with your best customers. And I believe, and this is a bold statement, I know, but I believe this will also be a more pleasant and ethical process for you and your customers. Like, I actually believe that this is a better way to do business, where you don't have to feel like you're manipulating people. This isn't some kind of game. This is actually a really pleasant process. And so I think this is a little bit of an audacious claim, but I believe at the end of our time, I will be able to satisfy this. So what do we call it? We call it the customer journey approach. This is the philosophy that we believe that you need to adopt. So let's take a look at what that is. We're going to step back and get our plane, go 30,000 foot view and take a look. It's important for us to look at the customer. And this is honestly, I think, one of the biggest issues we see in marketing is so much of marketing is focused on the brand, right? On your company. Here's what I do. Here's why I'm so great. But honestly, we have to get into our best customers' shoes, figure out what they need, who they are, and how can we serve them. So let's take a step and look at this process. And this process is exactly the same, whether you buy a pack of gum or a Porsche or anything in between. This applies to business sales, business to consumer sales. It doesn't matter. This does not change. And so we have to be hyper aware of this in order to build effective strategies. The first step in this journey is that your best customers have to become aware. They either have to be aware of a problem. They might not know that problem. And you probably know that, right? There's probably a lot of the individuals that you work with, they didn't even realize the power of these kind of VoIP systems, and they got all hardware, and they don't even know there's a problem. So you might have to be able to make them aware that there is a problem. And then you have to make them aware that you are a possible solution for their problems. But awareness isn't enough. you also have to help them develop interest, and not just interest, but affinity. Help them trust you, like you. Then somebody goes through a process and they decide, am I going to buy this one or that one, that package or this package? Am I going to buy it from you, or am I going to buy it from your competitor? But each process, they go through this decision-making process. And then finally, they come to a place where they take action. They acquire, they buy. And most marketing that you see today, it really focuses just on these last two right here, decision and action. They just say, we're only going to focus on decision and action, people who are ready to buy. And we should definitely have a presence there. But I'm going to tell you, the huge opportunity is in awareness and interest. That's the place where there's a huge opportunity. You can't ignore the entire process. But also, people stop here and they forget that actually the most important part of your business is to create an amazing customer experience. Because you can get somebody to buy, but if you don't create an amazing customer experience, they're probably going to leave sooner than you want them to. They may provide negative feedback to others, or they might just be kind of, meh, it was okay. And you're not really top of mind. You really didn't do anything to wow them. But when you can find a way to deliver an amazing customer experience through this whole marketing and delivery process, you have the ability to create loyalty. And everything about the customer journey approach pivots on this idea of creating loyal customers. Now, here at Intent Company, we call loyal customers brand advocates, people who are advocating on your behalf. And brand advocates are so powerful because they do a few things. They engage with your brand, they connect with you, but they also let people know about what you offer. They are your kind of virtual sales force out there. And they do this by word of mouth, social sharing, leaving reviews. In fact, I've had some chance to speak with a lot of SkySwitch resellers, and I have found that most of them do most of their business from referrals. Most of them, that's where they're getting it. So you already understand the power of advocacy, but there's an intentional way where we can create advocates and empower advocates to really share our message. And the cool part about a brand advocate is they're not just like influencing awareness, just getting somebody aware. When they make a recommendation, they're actually influencing decisions. They're helping somebody go even further down the process. They're influencing actions, and they're also duplicating the advocacy. They're influencing loyalty. So to simplify our time and to think about this process, really the entire customer journey is packaged into 3 buckets: awareness, action, and advocacy. Everything that we do from a sales and marketing perspective is either to generate awareness, or to take that awareness and develop action, or to help people who've already acted and help turn them into brand advocates. Pretty much everything that we do fits into those 3 buckets. And so we have to now think about, well, where are we in that process? How can we develop an intentional, measurable, reliable system that will carry our best customers through these 3 phases of the customer journey? Another quote that I believe really encapsulates this is from the great Peter Drucker, where he says, the purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. Those are very wise words, and I think that really encapsulates the idea of creating brand advocates. Okay, but I'm not done berating the point. I believe the goal of all marketing should be to develop and reproduce brand advocates. I think that is your goal. If you measure the success of anything you do, you need to measure, is this helping to develop or reproduce brand advocates? And brand advocates are so important because they buy based on value, not price. And I'm sure everybody on this call has had that customer that was completely price centric, and it was probably one of the hardest customers to work with. Probably ongoing, it's the most difficult. In every industry, anybody I work with, that's always the case. But then you have someone who understands your value proposition, right? Maybe you're somebody who's just completely customer service focused. You just spend so much time making sure the customer is so satisfied. And people who need that see the value in what you have to offer, and they're not concerned about price. And they're your best customer. You know, brand advocates stay your customer. They stick around, they stay, they retain, they engage with you. They identify with your brand. They understand what you're about. You're their guy, you're their gal, and they're always about sharing your story, which actually means you need to have a story. The thing is, you do have a story. You might not know it because it's just second nature to you, but you have something unique, some unique message that makes you and your business And you've got to package that so it's easily consumed and it's easily shared by your brand advocates. Brand advocates are the 20% of your customers that produce 80% of your revenue. And maybe it's not just direct their fees or their costs, but it's also their impact on your business. And brand advocates are easily worth 30, 60, or 100 times more than the average customer. So I hope that in that moment there, you guys have agreed with me that yes, creating brand advocates is the goal. Brand advocates is what it's all about. And if the more brand advocates we have, the healthier our business will be. Well, if you're with me there, then what I'd like to move on to is the methodology that we've developed. We have created a system called the intent method, and it's created to create a measurable data back for defining, developing, and duplicating brand advocates. And so there's really, if we wanted to summarize this whole thing, what it's really all about, to be as in simplest form, is that this is all about highlighting your unique value that you have with the people who need it most. And all marketing is the line between those two. In fact, everything we do is about imparting the brand value that you have into the hearts of the people who need it most. And when that is done well, marketing is extremely effective. All right, so let's take a look at the intent method. There's three main pillars to the intent method. The first thing is personalization. Each person must be treated uniquely, and we can do that. Second is we have to develop automation. We can't have all of our marketing activity to be completely dependent on somebody pushing keys or doing things constantly. There's ways for us to create automation systems. Automation systems are reliable, they're measurable, and when that's the case, then we have something that we can optimize. We can see continual improvement through building improvement in our systems, in our marketing. So let's dive into these each individually. Starting with personalization, these are some screenshots of part of the workshops that we do. So one of the first things we do with every customer we work with is we walk them through a brand positioning and customer persona workshop. And we really want to highlight, because the thing is that all this unique, amazing value is in between your ears, but we need to draw that out and have something that we can really help to package to market to your best customers. I've never gone through this process with any customer and them not have like this aha moment where they didn't realize how unique or valuable something was. But the goal of these and the brand positioning statement starting off is to help develop your brand voice, understand like who are you, what's your tone, who are you, how do you communicate? The second thing is to help to create what I call Bob. And that's truly to understand the benefit of what you have to offer. People buy emotionally. And so there's a real problem that you're satisfying. There's an underlying benefit. And if you can understand what that benefit is, then we can easily associate that to the people who need it most. Also, we need to understand what's your economic driver. Like, what is that one thing in your marketing funnel that most creates the revenue for your business? Is it appointments? Is it ebook downloads? Is it opens? Is it all these things? But every brand has a unique thing that, if we can just get somebody to that point where they have that consultation, man, we close a ton of business. Well, let's highlight what that is and make sure that we're driving people to that economic driver. And all of this comes together to help you create your unique marketable position. And we really have to be that. Every brand has the opportunity to be unique. And we have to figure out what that is, because if you're just a Me Too company, then it's always going to be based on price. It's not going to be based on this brand affinity. And then from the customer standpoint, what are we trying to identify? What do we need to know? Well, almost all the times you deal with this idea of personas or avatars. You think about this idea of demographics, right? Like, who are they? How big's the company? Who am I talking to? CEO, head of this, head of that. Well, demographics are of somewhat importance, and we should have that. But I would say more important than demographics is psychographics. I want to know the attitudes, the interests, and the beliefs of my best customers. If I can understand why they make decisions, I can market to them way more powerfully than just understanding who they are. And likewise, too, we go through a process where oftentimes we will do a survey panel. So we'll work with a company and we'll interview their best customers. and we'll maybe even have them take like a Myers-Briggs assessment or something, and we'll actually develop their personality profile, right? How do they like to be communicated to? Some people like bullet points. Get to the point. Tell me what this is all about. Bump, bump, bump. Some people want narrative. They want the story. They want to hear the testimonials. Well, if we can know who they are and how they like to receive information, then we can certainly communicate to them in a more specific way. The last piece too is learning style. How do people like to be communicated to? Do you like to communicate? Do people want to be watch videos? Do they want to read something? Do they want audio? Well, if you can understand the way that they consume information, we can then cater our marketing in that fashion as well. So it brings a lot a lot more depth to the whole process than just understanding their age and kind of where they live. All right, let's move on to automation. All right. So this is an example of an automation tool that we use. So I build pretty much all of the automation for my company and my customers in this system called Infusionsoft. And Infusionsoft is an amazing tool because it allows us to create this if this then that methodology, which basically means if somebody does something, if somebody consumes something, then I want to do this. This is the essence of really creating personalization, because I can have different pathways for each customer. And then also, this is a system that's just working on my behalf. I don't have somebody having to push all these buttons. It's like I created an employee who works 24/7, never calls out sick, and is always ready to go. And the essence of a good automation system, no matter what technology you use, really has to be based on a couple different things. The first thing has to be, I need to have an initiation, which means when someone does this, I then want to do the next thing, which is the set of activity. And then when I'm doing this activity, whether it's sending emails, making phone calls, mailing postcards, whatever those activities are, once somebody takes the desired action I'm looking for, I then want to stop that next sequence, and then we just go on to the next thing. And so it's always this cause and effect type system, and it becomes extremely reliable, completely transparent data, and we can easily improve the system. And so inside the sequence of communicating, we could do things like send text messages, we could send emails, like I said, we could send postcards. Not only that, we could even have internal operations, meaning when somebody goes to a particular page on your website, maybe you want to notify your salesperson, and you're going to set a task, and it's going to say, follow up with this person, assign it to a particular owner, create an appointment. So it really balances this act, because it's not just about like digital marketing or buying ads. It's about, you have a business, and it's online, it's offline, it's on mobile devices, it's on desktops, it's face-to-face. So a system that brings all of that together in one coherent way is going to be extremely important for you developing a powerful automation system. The last piece is optimization. And so you can see how all these pieces pivot off of each other. You want personalization, but you need a tool to be able to do that. You want to build automation systems that help create efficiencies and great return, so you can do also really great optimization. And this is the simplest way to think about optimization. We call this the intent cycle. The reason that I think customers probably work with me is because based off of the last 15 years of doing this, I hopefully have some experience that can help get you further down the path to success. But that's just my strategy. So I'm going to share with you a strategy. And what you've got to do is you got to go and implement that strategy. So you act, but then you also have to measure. And I've worked with extremely large brands that just still don't measure. Measurement's kind of like the hidden tactic of all this thing called marketing, where you just really figure out what was it supposed to do, what did it do, and then based on that feedback you get, you improve your strategy, and then you implement, and then you measure, and you never stop. And it becomes this flywheel effect of constant improvement. And by being diligent in this system, success is almost guaranteed, because you're always going to learn what's moving better, and you're going to implement those changes and see success. And so always make sure that you have a strong optimization plan in place with any sales and marketing that you're doing. And honestly, this applies to your entire business, onboarding, everything about your business. This can be improved using this intent cycle. All right, so that was the methodology. Let's dig in on a specific campaign that I think will be a good illustration for what I mean, right? So let's get some tactical, let's get practical and take a look at what this is. But I also believe that this is one of the most powerful foundational campaigns. So if you don't have any of this in place and you're kind of wondering where do we start, this is a good place to start. Again, I want to just emphasize what we're talking about doing here is building like a machine, a marketing machine, right? Almost all the time when you've probably had a marketing agency reach out to you. I'm sure you have. And probably what they've recommended is some sort of improving traffic to your website, right? Like, let's do Facebook, let's do LinkedIn, let's buy some traffic on Google. None of those things are bad. We do all those things for many of our customers. However, if you don't have an intentional machine that you're driving that traffic to that guides them through awareness, action, and advocacy, you're just wasting money. And so the first place to start is to create this marketing machine that is reliable, that you can improve, and now you have something powerful you can drive traffic through, and you can see, does the traffic actually work or not? So we're really building, again, a marketing machine about awareness, action, and advocacy. So one thing that we typically do in our agency is we'll have our customers go through this journey assessment, right? So you walk through, you answer a bunch of yes/no questions, and at the end of that, it tells you where you're kind of maybe missing, right? Are you maybe not doing awareness that well, or action that well, or advocacy, and kind of brings you through. But what I want to share with you today is actually a plan, because I'm not sure where you're at, that tackles all three. Think of this as a foundation. This is going to be a foundational plan that you can build and expand upon, but this is really going to do a solid job of giving you a base level approach through the customer journey, and it's actually one of the most cost-effective, easiest ways to implement. All right, so let's tackle the awareness section of the funnel. Again, what are we trying to do here? It's a marketing campaign designed to expose your brand to new people and develop affinity. So this is what I call the micro to macro funnel. And you'll see why in a second. I put HubSpot funnel in there. You guys might be familiar with the company HubSpot. Good old Boston company. I'm from Boston. And they've been very successful, but they've really had one marketing strategy. That's it. They do one thing and they just rinse and repeat over and over again. And so that's why I use them as an example, because it's so foundational, works so well. So let's walk through that. Again, we talk about traffic, right? That's where everybody starts, is by driving traffic. But we need this other system in place to really make this work. Let's use a tactic that is constantly talked about, is social media, right? Like social media is, oh my gosh, it's the thing. Social media, email's dying, which none of that is true. Social media has its place, but it needs to be part of a system, not a one-off activity. So let's take a look at HubSpot here. So what HubSpot does is they go and they share a link on social media to a blog post. So somebody clicks on the link and they go into the blog and they read the blog post, and it's some high value, relevant information to their best customer. And then at the bottom of every single blog post on HubSpot is an opt-in for a relevant, what I call macro piece of content. Macro meaning big, right? So an ebook, a webinar, something larger than just like your typical, blog post type thing. So there's the relevant opt-in, right? It's applied just to the content on the blog post. Click here. When you click there, in HubSpot's case, you're going to put in a bunch of information. They're going to send you some emails. Somebody's going to call you. They're going to bring you into their sales cycle. So, but it's a valuable piece of content that you have to exchange for contact information. So if you look at it from the user perspective, you have social media email, right? Goes out, goes to a blog post, and then you go to this ebook. Well, the reason I like the strategy so much is because it's actually very easy to implement. It seems like there's a lot going on there, but all you have to do is go backwards. And almost all marketing is like that. It's like you begin with the end in mind. And so really all HubSpot does is they create one macro piece of content, an ebook. And then they chop that up into pieces and use that for their blog posts. And then they take content out of their blog post and use that for their social media post. So by creating one macro piece of content, an ebook and or a webinar works the same way, because you can create little videos, share it on social, YouTube, so on. You create a macro piece of content, chop it up, create something that's easily digestible, that builds relationship and rapport, and then creates trust so they opt in, and then you just cut that in pieces and create your social post. So a very simple way to tackle the awareness funnel. And you can just set a goal. Say we're going to create a macro piece of content every 3 months or every month if you're being aggressive. And then out of that, you create all of these extra assets. Very effective way to build an awareness level funnel. All right, so now we've tackled awareness. Basically, we've built rapport. We're starting to develop trust. They've opted in, so now they came into our world. Now we got to get them over to action, right? And so the action campaigns are all about converting people with purchase intent. And so we've got to develop that purchase intent and then convert them over. So how do we do that? Well, in this funnel here, you see we have this kind of targeted email goodwill with a call to action. What does that mean? Well, let's dive in because there's actually a lot inside of that one bucket. When someone has gone through the process of opting in, going through your webinar, going through your ebook, the likelihood that they're ready to convert is way higher. And so I call this purchase intent, but in our scenario, this probably isn't where they're going to buy. It's more like consultation intent, right? Because there's going to be an extra layer in this process. So you're going to want to get a consultation out of it. So one of the most important things that you can do, let me get my fancy laser pointer here, is so if we understand the intent, then what we want to do is we want to continue to build rapport where they're ready to take action. And one of the most important things you could ever do is social proof. You know, for everybody on this call, I think one of the most important tools that you could ever create is a testimony library. Get as many videos and text testimonies as you possibly can. I believe that this would be absolutely so important for your business. And so one thing that you should think about doing is when you capture maybe a particular individual, maybe that's in a certain industry or in a certain geography, and you get this amazing testimonial, use that and leverage it, right? Go and share that to others that share a similar thought or process to that, because they're like, wow, if so-and-so benefited from this, I should benefit from this. And so a testimonial library is huge. In fact, if you think about one of the most powerful testimonial brands today is Amazon, right? We think about Amazon, we think about buying on Amazon because they have such cheap prices and free shipping. But actually think about their review engine. You go on a product and there's 20,000 reviews, 4.5 stars. That creates such an overwhelming social proof that people have to buy. I know I've actually found myself recently, or in the last couple of years, I'll be in a store, like in Best Buy, looking at a product and be like, I think I want that. But then I go in my Amazon app, not to actually buy it because it's $5 cheaper, but just to see the reviews to validate that I should make that purchase. And so then I validate it, and I'm fine paying a couple more dollars, but I need the social proof. The next thing is just to understand overcoming objections. There are obstacles to purchase. There are fears, doubts, things that you can have. In an automated fashion, you could have a series of emails, and it could literally be called the 7 fears of da-da-da. Fill in the blank for whatever you particularly you're communicating. And literally have, maybe even put this in a testimonial format where somebody puts, I didn't want to do this because, and then talk about why that's actually okay. And then talk, maybe again, share a testimony of somebody who overcame it. And then promotional sequence. If they've been opening these emails and they got this and they still haven't converted yet, well, maybe give them a deal. Talk about a special promotion you're running till the end of the month and a reduced cost or some kind of thing that you can do. Like, you know, that's another thing that's lost a lot in the marketing world is salesmanship. Right? When we get somebody on the phone, we'll wheel and deal a little bit, but you can also do the same sort of salesmanship in your emails, on your website, so on. So add a little bit of promotional. And then also to that same vein, ask for the sale. Flat out, you know, have a sales page, say, we want to work with you. Click here to set up your consultation, your free demo, whatever the case may be. And so all of these buckets, some people, as soon as they get social proof, they're ready to go, and they go. Some of them, you know what, takes a little bit more time. And then some even go after you go through this amazing process, actually most, you're probably not gonna have a 51% conversion rate. So most are probably still gonna have to go here. And all you do here is just continue to send them really cool stuff. When that new ebook you make next quarter or webinar comes out, share that to them and bring them back to the process. Continue to touch. And the awesome part about this whole process is all you're doing is continually adding value and building rapport. And so you never wear anybody out. They're never mad at you, leave me alone. You're just giving them cool content and building relationships. So it just always creates affinity. I mean, you could literally create brand advocates out of people who never bought anything from you. They're telling other people, even though they're not ready to take the step. That happens all the time. And so, but what we're working this whole thing for is to create a customer. It's to create someone we're working with that's going to create loyalty. And so this is where we're going to now go over to the brand advocacy side of things. It's not enough just to get a customer. We now have to be intentional about turning that customer into a brand advocate. So advocacy campaigns, they are designed to develop brand advocates, people that stay your customer, share about what you have going on, and then engage with your brand, stay engaged. And that's exactly what you want. And so this loyalty phase here has a few different components. And this is something that I think is going to be really important for people who are on this call. This process, this funnel here has been extremely successful in many different ways. And I think it applies really well to everybody here. So, we typically think about when somebody signs up and they purchase, we probably have some transactional communication, right? Like when are people coming on board? When's the training? Kind of just the onboarding practices. But one thing that I think it'd be huge is to really focus on what I call a love it sequence. This is after somebody's purchased, how can we get them to absolutely love what they bought, to love this package, to love what they're using? Well, one of the most important ways is to actually make sure that they can fully utilize all the functionality, right? The SkySwitch platform has so many different components, so many different things you can do. It's such a fantastic tool that I bet most people who end up getting on board aren't using all of the features. Probably a fraction of the features are they actually taking advantage of. So what if you had kind of a training series? So after somebody gets on, you have all these videos that you automatically send out about how to use the best features and how to really use it, and have videos so it's super easy to use. They don't have to dig through support and stuff like that. It's like really easy to digest, and so they consume all that content. Their affinity is going to go through the roof. They're like, wow, we love this. This is such a fantastic tool. And then after they have it and you've wowed them with all this great content to help them really love their purchase, this is a perfect time then to ask for a review. Build that testimonial library. Ask them what they thought. If possible, get it on video. Like, do whatever you can to build that testimonial library. And then also invite them over to your community. Have a community page. Have a LinkedIn group or Facebook or something where you can bring people together, make sure they're part of your community. So they need to be on your email list. They need to be part of your social profiles, whatever kind of community thing. If you have any local community aspects, great, create that community. Community is the most fantastic way to create advocacy, because when people feel like they're part of something, they identify with your brand, they're going to be constantly finding ways to bring other people into that community. Also, after that, now we can start getting a little bit more specific. Maybe we run them through some different personalization or segmentation funnels, get to know more about them. There could be some sort of what we call life cycle sequence. Do they need to upgrade or add on certain things, right? Maybe we got them set up with cloud, but now we want to introduce IT services or other things, right? So there's like a sequence, and you bring them through what we call your value ladder, where they're continually seeing more value and being able to buy more of your services. And then let's ask them to be advocates. And this is where this whole system comes full circle, if you will. In your awareness level of the funnel, you have these ebooks, these webinars, these cool tools that you're using to get awareness. But check this out. Most people are less apt to share things that they've bought than cool free things, right? So I always use this analogy of like a gym membership, right? We probably all had the opportunity to go and sign up for a gym membership. And at the end of signing up for a gym membership, what they don't do is give you a stack of contracts and say, hey, pass these out to your friends and have them sign up. No, what they do is they give you a bunch of free passes, and they say, hey, bring your friend, come experience what we're all about. And then that enters into their sales cycle. So likewise, everybody who becomes one of your customers, to help them become brand advocates, I would recommend that you have emails that go off that say, hey, have you seen this ebook, this webinar? Would you go and click this button to share it with your network? Would you share this on LinkedIn? Right? And so now they're taking your awareness level assets and they're syndicating them on your behalf. So the trust factor is way higher, because somebody's like, oh, I know Jane. Oh, she's sharing this. This is pretty cool. And then they opt in, and then they enter into your whole process. And so that's really where you create what they call that viral aspect. And then the last piece is your VIPs. There are certain customers that are worth extraordinarily more than others. either because of what they're doing with you or because of how often they advocate on your behalf, treat those people differently. Treat them differently. Like I would have some sort of referral measurement. Like if a person referred 3 people, I would go and figure out what's the best steakhouse in town where they live, and I'd buy them a $200 gift card with a handwritten note, mail it to them, and say, we're so appreciative of how you recommend us. I just want to have this as a token of, just this whole process. Thank you so much. And you send it off to them. Do you think they're going to be more apt to share you? Of course they are. And that's just a real world, cool way to treat people that's going to help create affinity. And would you mind getting 3 new deals for $200? Probably not. It's probably a decent cost per acquisition. You'd probably be fine to get that on Google. Well, why not just empower our best customers to do the same thing? All right, so let's go through a recap because we've covered a lot here. The first thing that we want to deal with is we want to heal from the shiny new toy syndrome. And I think if we apply this process, you'll find that healing will begin. You want to think strategy before tactics. The strategy always is more important than tactics. And if you have a solid strategy, you then look at your tactics and say, do these tactics support my strategy? If not, you got to get rid of it. The only goal for your marketing should be to create brand advocates. And you must build a high impact marketing system by following the intent method: personalization, automation, and optimization. So earlier I mentioned this customer journey assessment. This is, again, a bunch of yes/no questions. You go through the process and it highlights, which phase of the funnel are you doing better than others. I would highly recommend that you take that step. If you go to intentcompany.com/CJA, that'll get you to the assessment. You can take the assessment. Also, just because of our partnership, with SkySwitch and the Cloud Voice Alliance, what I'd love to do is also give you a really cool free asset. So I mentioned earlier that one of the first things that we do is this persona and brand positioning workshop. So typically we would go through this. It's a multi-step process. It's one-on-one with the customer, and it's easily a $3,000 to $5,000 project when we're doing this in full length. But in order for me to give this to you as a tool, when you fill out the assessment, the CJ assessment, we're going to send you a link. That link is going to go to a couple of videos that walks you through how to do this. It also has the template that we use, all the spaces to fill out. So you get the template, you get the videos, all of that I'm going to give to you completely free, just again for our partnership and for taking the time to fill out that assessment. I think that's going to be a really valuable tool for you. So I highly recommend that you take that step. And that was our presentation. So I'd love to chat a little bit and answer any questions you might have.
Well, thank you, Billy. That was just great information and just a great explanation of the customer journey. I really enjoyed that. As a matter of fact, it was so riveting and so informative that we absolutely have 0 questions from the participants. So if anybody has one out there, anything whatsoever, just type it into the question widget and we'll get to it. But at this juncture, it looks like it was well received. I think they're taking it, they're chewing on it. Oh, okay. Yeah, we got one here who goes, drinking from a fire hose today. I need to watch again and again. Okay, so that was good. So yeah, you were the fireman today.
Yeah, I apologize. And so yeah, again, this presentation will be available for you again. And when you sign up, we're going to send you a bunch of really cool tools. And also too, if any questions come up or you want to discuss your unique strategy, I'll make sure that here's my contact information on this page. But all the emails and everything, you can easily get a hold of me. And love to talk more about what you're doing and provide any advice that I can to help support your business.
Yeah, we're getting comments in here about a recording being, yes, we're definitely recording this. We're going to be sending it out so you can review it again. We're getting a lot of accolades here of great presentation, a lot of content. We want to apply it to our strategy and so forth. So I think this is a good thing. What's really unique about this is that every reseller that's on this webinar today, you have the opportunity to implement this within your own market, to set yourself apart and to build your business. What SkySwitch resellers do in white labeling our hosted PBX and SIP trunking services and web and video conferencing and business SMS it's going to be pretty similar to, to each reseller. So repeating this and building this cookie cutter that's going to be very, very effective for you in each of your markets. Yeah, it's going to be customized, for your business and your particular strategy and your communications. But, it's an opportunity for you to set yourself apart. Don't miss the opportunity. Do the assessment, fill it out, take the time, get the downloads from Billy, and do something great for your business in 2019. Okay, well, Billy, that's it as far as questions today. That's it as far as the webinar. We want to thank all the participants for being here today. We look forward to having you on another SkySwitch University webinar series. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.